Hello. Today we will try to understand the OSI model and its various layers on high level. OSI stands for Open System Interconnection. It's basically a conceptual model for communication between the two devices. It was developed in the late 1970s and first was published in 1984 as the ISO 7490. Slowly, this OS now this OSI model is mostly used in network engineering, the concept in network engineering to make it more understandable. But as a backend engineer, you should be able to know that what is OSI model, how the data flows between the layers, right? That will help you understand to be a good backend engineer. Okay, so in the OSI model, the data is actually divided into seven layers. There, the communication is divided into seven layers. Each layer has a specific responsibility. Let's get started into the understanding of each layer. So this is a model where it has seven layers. The first three layers are structured as user layer. Second is the transport layer. Fourth is the transport layer, and then the last three layers are hardware layers because those are into the actually happening at the kernel level. So that's the reason it is treated as a hardware layer. Let's start with the layer 7. Layer 7 is the application layer. Application is nothing but your actual application where you see all your HTTP requests, the end user applications. All applications are at layer 7. Next is the presentation layer. Presentation layer is the actual layer where your data transformation appears. For example, if you are sending a data from one device to another device in form of say JSON, so that request has a body, might have a body of a payload that is nothing. Suppose you are trying to fetch photos of your friends or photos. Then in that case, your get API or post API will have some payload that fetch this data based on some criteria. So that JSON data or the request is now converted to a bytes of string that happens at the presentation layer. This layer happens that this layer is responsible for transforming that layer data into bytes of string. Next is the session. This session is different from what you see the actual session of the user session. This is different. This session is nothing but your network session. For example, when you establish a connection with the server, so whether that's when you send the next request, whether that the request is a valid request or not, that session management is done at this session level. Okay, this is nothing but the TCP or UDP protocol, whichever you are using, that session is maintained here. The JWT session which we use for user authentication is managed at the application layer, which is a layer 7. Let's move on to transport layer. This is the 4. This layer defines how will you send the data. For example, we have most popular protocols which are TCP and UDP. TCP, the advantage of TCP is TCP sends data in the form of packets and is more reliable. Okay, like it makes sure the data is delivered in the proper order and it guarantees the delivery. Whereas UDP is much faster, but there is no guarantee of data in a particular order. So UDP is mostly used for video streaming, okay, and TCP is mostly used for data transfer. Basically, for day-to-day applications, TCP is used. Next is the network layer. Network layer here the IP where your source IP, destination IP, port IP, uh, source port and destination port are added into your till response. Then we have a data link layer. Data link layer here the packets which are generated at network layer 3 are being converted to as a frames. Okay, in the layer 2 and in the layer 1 actually these frames are taken into bit converted into bits of 0 and 1. And then this is a physical layer. This is where the actual data gets transferred from a particular machine to another machine through Ethernet cable or a Wi-Fi. So this happens at the physical layer. Let's take a simple example in the programming world. Suppose you want to send the request to the client to get all the list of all the users in the system. Okay, this is the API that you are firing and to get the data. Now from the client side, everything will happen from layer 7 to layer 1, and when your request is being received at the server layer, everything is happening from layer 1 to layer 7. So I'll explain you that. So when you hit the API from the postman, so it is at layer 7 because it's a application layer. So it's at layer 7. Then when you hit the API, the first thing happens, it converts the data to bytes of string, that is layer 6. Then a session is checked whether a session is established or not, that we have to check. Then it's happening at the client side. Then the transport layer, then the T, then your transport layer is decided which TCP to use, TCP or UDP to use. Then network layer assigns a particular header and the source IP and destination IP where this request needs to be routed. Okay, then my data link it converts into packets to frames and the MAC address of that particular hardware is added and it is being sent to the physical layer. Physical layer it then converts these frames to bits 10 and then it is actually been routed to the actual device. Then when the request is received at the server layer again this from physical layer it has received, then this that is converted to bits. From bits is converted to frame, then it's sent to data link. Data link will read the headers, then convert it to the network IP. Network IP then it will go to the TCP. TCP it will check for the handshake, the TCP handshake, and then it will go to session. It will check whether this request is a valid request or not. Then it will go to the presentation layer. It will now converted the data to bytes of string. Now it will again convert it to JSON. Okay, and that JSON will now be passed to the application layer server, where it can be a Node application or Java application that understands that this is a JSON data and what needs to be done with this particular data. So it will convert this data and send the response whatever is requested as per the API. And then again from server layer 7 to layer 6, layer 7 to layer 1 will happen, and then the request will go back to the client, and then the reverse. This is a simple flow of the data. Let's understand a very simple example. So this is related to programming. Let's understand a different example not related to a programming background. Where let's assume it's a parcel delivery analogy. The application, suppose you want to send an application parcel to your friend. So application is nothing but the parcel which you want to send. Presentation is you will wrap the parcel in some in a gift format or you will wrap it so that it don't get damaged. So that is the presentation. Session is you will establish a session with the courier service. Then it's the job of the courier service that the it should be delivered safely. That is a transport layer. Network layer then when it's been transferred to different cities, the job of the network is to make sure it is transferred to proper city. Then when it goes to the city, then in the data links layer, it identifies that okay, this is it has reached the city now. It's the job of city to it's go to the nearest local center. Then from local center, it will have to reach to your different destination. And physically, nothing but the medium that is used to transfer the data. It can be truck, road, or physical transmission. If you want to go into more detail for this OSI model, you can go to any website, Geek for Geeks. I'll attach that link in the description. And there is a new model also, TCP model, which has only four layers. These top three layers, application presentation, they are clubbed into one. Transport layer is kept as it is. Network data, physical, they are kept as it is. So this is also a different model which is being recently developed. You can, if you want, if interested, you can go into that. Yeah. Thank you.